Without a doubt, the two questions we here at Little Fish get asked the most are around cost and time. So in this video, I'm going to lift up the hood on a side-by-side dual-lock site that we completed for a client in middle of 2021. I'm going to share all the project's timing and costs, including the eventual result as far as profit and the client's return on investment. Hey guys, Peter Kelly here from Little Fish Property Developments, helping you maximize the value of your land and generate wealth through low-risk residential property development. On this video, we share everything you need to know to deliver successful projects time and time again. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on so you don't miss a thing. Now before we rip the hood open and sink our teeth into the project particulars, I think it's important that we note that this client engaged us to help find them a site and develop and sell for profit. As it turned out, the property was presented to us as an off-market opportunity. It took us a couple of days to complete our due diligence. Once we were satisfied, we were able to negotiate a favourable purchase price for our client and ultimately deliver a successful outcome. Let's break down 14 Wilmoth Avenue, Carnegie. It was a side-by-side dual occupancy site with an east-west orientation. It was approximately 561 square metres of land with a frontage of around 13.8 metres and a depth of around 40.9 metres. Before we get into the numbers, let's look at the project's timeline. While you're consuming the timeline on the screen, I want to give the project some perspective. Pretty much the day we purchased the site, the southern neighbour put a pool in, which was a total coincidence, but it meant it was something that we needed to navigate. Even though there were no regulations specifying that you can't shadow a pool, we had to negotiate with the neighbour to avoid VCAT, which we were successful and able to do by altering the upstairs setback on the south unit during the design stage. I also wanted to touch on the importance that all subdivision requirements were met timely throughout the construction process so that the new titles were registered and either done prior to construction or at very least in parallel with the completion of construction. Thanks to the hard work of the team here at Little Fish, all of the subdivision requirements were met in plenty of time. It guaranteed that settlement with the buyers was achieved within 14 days of project completion, meaning that they got their capital back and saw their profits sooner, ready for them to roll into their next project. Now you've got some perspective around the timing, let's get into the numbers. Let's start with the costs. For the purpose of this exercise, I've broken down the costs into 7 categories. The purchase, early development, middle development, construction, marketing, bank holding and interest, and completion stage. First up, let's look at the purchase costs. These include the contract price, stamp duty, adjustments, which was included in the conveyancing. Next are the early development costs. These were costs incurred from the purchase date right through until planning approval. All of the costs from the first 8 months of the project. These costs included the deposit for the project management services, the land surveying, so the re-establishment survey and the features and levels surveys, and also the drafting and the planning costs. Next were the middle development costs. These were all the costs incurred from the planning permit approval right up until construction commencement. They include the demolition, construction documentation, the interior design package, the plan of subdivision application. It also includes the new power pit that was required and all the service connections such as NBN, telecommunication, water, gas, etc. Our Stage 2 project management invoice for achieving town planning approval was also paid at this point. Then it was the construction costs. All of our construction contracts are fixed price and they are full turnkey, so included everything that you can think of, from landscaping to letterboxes, clotheslines, and everything else in between. Our Stage 3 project management invoice for construction commencement was also paid at this point, after we had run the full tender process, engaged the builder, and also started on site. Next up were the marketing costs. These were some of the minor costs for marketing assets to support the sales campaign. It included some 3D renders, the hoarding, the marketing banner, and also a custom brochure design and the printing. Next was the bank interest and holding costs for the project. Like we do with most of our projects, we were able to have the bank interest capitalised, which essentially meant that the interest was accrued over the duration of the project and paid in full upon the settlement of the sales proceeds, so when the loan was closed out. And finally, we had some completion costs, which included the agent sales commission, the portal listing, realestate.com and domain, etc., which were also paid at settlement of the sale of the townhouses. There were some minor settlement costs, and the final payment for our Stage 4 project management invoice was also due upon completion of the project. As shown on the timeline earlier, both properties were sold off the plan and the new titles were registered timely. So the properties were able to be settled with the buyers 14 days after the builder had issued the certificate of occupancy. If your goal is to maximize your financial return, then this is exactly how you want the end of your project to go. The key is to settle with your buyers as soon as possible so you get your money sooner, pay down your debt, and roll into your next project. Now the moment of truth, the result. The result was total cost for the project, $2,464,135. Total sales revenue, $3,050,000. Net profit, $585,865. Return on the client's equity was 47.6%. This case study shows that if you purchase at the right level and the market looks after you just a little bit, that there is plenty of money to be made in undertaking these dual occupancy projects in and around Melbourne. In the end, the buyers were happy, the client was ecstatic, and us here at Little Fish couldn't have been any happier. Since this project, and even prior to completion, we've helped this client secure multiple other sites, and it looks like we'll be working with this client for many years to come. The key to becoming a successful developer is all about patience and discipline. Your goal isn't to retire in your first development. You want to get in the game at the level that you aren't overexposed financially so that you can begin to grow your capital with as minimal risk as possible. It's no secret that money makes money. So get on the developing merry-go-round and start growing your capital one project at a time. Worry less about the market cycles and focus on learning, relationships, networks, and efficiencies, all the things you can control. Because if you do, you'll look back on your journey in 10 years' time and you'll be able to appreciate how good it's been to you. I'm Peter Kelly. Until next time, happy developing.